Welcome again to this software testing bootcamp. Um, and this is going to be a very exciting journey for everyone, of course. And I'm also super excited, especially having seen how you guys performed with the first assignment. I'm like super, super, super excited. And today we're going to be diving deeper or much deeper into this course, right? You guys know what a use case is? If any of you have heard the word use case before, please raise up your hand. The term use case, rather, not a word. Term use case. So if I use case, Constance use case, okay. Anyone else? Justin. Oh, Justin not. Okay, so Justin is not sure. All right, let me ask Constance.
Sorry, what was the question?
Have you heard the term use case and do you know what it means? So I'm gonna ask to see if we can merge the terminologies and see maybe we're talking about the same thing. So Constance, what is in your opinion a use case? What is that?
So, a use case, for example, when you're like developing a program, you use a use case diagram to like describe how users are are going to interact with that software.
Ah, interesting. Now, there's a distinction there. What you just described is a use case diagram, but I'm talking about the term use case itself. What is that? Because a use case diagram comes out of a use case. So let's try If I, what do you think a use case is? Oh, sorry. Before If I, Evans, I saw you raised up your hand, right?
Yeah, I thought a use to me, I think a use case is like if you're making a program or you like trying to test the website, you like have a checklist to see what you need to get done. It's like a checklist for programming for testing websites.
Okay. Checklist. Okay. Yeah, we'll put that in the basket as well. If I was, in your opinion, a use case.
A use case is more like a functional requirement that describes what needs to be done. One of like the task that needs to be done
Good. So
while building a software.
yes. So most of these terms I am talking about, you can always Google them. So just go use case. So if I thank you for your answer, it's also pretty close to what it is. So let's see what Google is saying. Google says a use case is a concept used in software development, product design, and other fields to describe how a system can be used or achieve specific goals or task. It outlines the interaction between users or actors and the system to achieve a specific outcome. So basically, I know this is just a lot of words. I don't know if it flipped over. You guys heard? If I see jumble of words like this, I'm like, oh my god, a lot. So let me try to break it down. So a use case is just basically describing a situation and telling you what needs to be done. I think that's the best or the most simplistic thing I am going to say. So first of all, you describe a situation, which is usually a current situation, a current problem, and then you say, "This is what I would like to get better. This is what I like you to build. This is what I like to change." Yeah. So I'll give you a typical use case. So which is actually what we're going to be working with throughout this program because you guys are all going to be working for me. So I have free labor from all of you. So technically, I'm going to give you context now. So that's normally how use cases start. Use case normally they'll give you context and tell you, okay, this is how it is. Now let me tell you how it is. Now, how it is the name of my company is Research Link. Uh, what do? I build softwares, mostly SaaS softwares. SaaS softwares, the word SaaS, that is SaaS, AAS, you might hear this word a lot. SaaS means software as a service. And how do you identify a SaaS software? A SaaS software is any software that before you use it or when you're using it, you have to like pay for stuff for you to use more features of it. Now I have this website, enket.com. It's a SaaS software. How do you know it's a SaaS software? Because if you go to the pricing, you see that, oh, you can use few features, but if you want to get extra cool stuff, you have to pay 20 euros. If you want to get super extra cool stuff, you have to pay 200 euros. If you want to get super extra stuff, you have to pay 350 euros. So for you to get services, you have to pay for it for you to get like extra boot up. So this is called a SaaS application, software as a service. So I have a SaaS software called Enquete.com. I briefly introduced it last time. Now Enquete.com has lived now for a little over. Right now, it's our first launch was in 2011. We've had multiple iterations. And when I mean iterations, we've redesigned it a couple of times. And this is 2024, so we're clocking close to 10 years now. We're like going close to 10 years. So pretty good, pretty old. Um, but the thing there is, it was built using an old technology. It functions super well, but the technology is old, and new things are coming in the market, such as AI. And I want to add AI features to this software. I want to also add like cool features like having a company pay for an account, but from a company paying for an account, they can also add their own workers. So for example, if you're a salon company that buys an account, you can add your workers so that your workers can also use your service while you paid for just one package. So there are lots of new features I'd like to add to this. And the reason is because the competitors or my competition is doing a lot more. I want to compete. I want to attract more customers. I want to show them that I can offer more services. So what am I intending to do? So you see now in my use case now I gave you context. I've given you context a little bit of what I do and what this software is about. Now, what is now the use case or the use case that we will be seeing? Because there's going to be multiple use cases coming out from of this context. So first thing I want to do is I want to redesign this entire software from scratch using a different technology. So we're going to be walking through stuff like new login system, new website, new web pages, new functionalities, and all of that. And all of these functionalities, as we go on, you guys will be tested. And what I would try to do is I would really try to make you guys, I'll put this scenario, I'll put this use cases so you guys will actually work for me just like you will technically work for a company. I'll try to take you through the processes you need to go through. And even some of we'll do a kind of a short lab today, and we'll test to see how some of these things are supposed to go in terms of um, testers getting requirements and being able to write use cases. Sorry, software test cases. Right now, I also have another software that we would also probably be testing during this course. It's called Pickaxe. So this software came about because a couple of years ago. I think it's about 2 or 3 years, 2 years old or thereabout. At the moment, it's not a paid service yet. I'm giving it out for free for now, and this came about because I started a pig company a couple of years ago, a pig farm company, and yeah, I wanted a software to manage the data, what goes in and out, and how our business is doing. But yeah, I couldn't find any software that made sense, and yeah, what else? And the ones I found that were used by mega billion-dollar companies that manage pig farms, I could not afford it. It's just too expensive. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna build something, and my target audience were just um, small scale farmers that have pigs and medium scale farmers. And yeah, so I built the whole system. And at the moment, we have about 600 users using this software. Um, and what do I intend to do with this software? Yeah, we've built it out pretty well. It's most of the functionality works, but there still needs to be more improvements, such as things like at the moment we don't have a mobile phone app for it, so people cannot access it through a mobile phone app. You can access it, of course, through your mobile phone, but we don't have a dedicated app. Um, what else? We have not. There's no multi-language functionality. It's only in English. Now, of course, you know that a lot of people probably don't speak English that also manage pig farms. So we'll be we'll be doing some we'll be extracting some use cases out of this, bringing out requirements, or I will be doing that. And you guys, as testers, as we go through this training, will learn to write um, test cases for requirements that I'm gonna put out. Do I have any other one I built? Yeah, but these are the two interesting ones at the moment. So this is also this the NCAT version is gonna be one of the most interesting ones because right now I'm still in development. I'm developing uh, the new version. I did have a version that I showed you guys last week. That was this one, which was also a new. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened. Okay, sharing the screen again. 1.7. Uh, is this correct? Okay. This is a quite a different version. No, sorry, this is not a different version. There's a different app I built, but this is not something I want to share. So this is a different version, the upgraded version of the NCAT website. I was working on it. The only problem I have with this one, which is I'm going to change, is first of all, I want to change the whole layout. I want it. I feel it's a little bit too in your face. It's so cumbersome. I want to change the whole look and feel. That's one. As you also see, a lot of the links are not working. Okay, some are working, but not all of them. You see, I'm clicking here, nothing is working. So there are actually more pages that need to come in. The pricing page is not working. All of this is just dummy stuff. We need real stuff coming in there. And what else? Let me go back here. So the whole design is going to be changed. The logo will stay the same. As you can see, I'm also rebranding. So you see the logo we have now, the logo I have now, and look at this. I'm rebranding, and even my icon is so super cool. Yeah, I gotta hype myself. So super cool. I designed it myself, of course, but yeah, we're rebranding totally. And I am the business. I am also going to play the seat of the architect. Um, I am also going to play the seat of the CEO. Now, what am I talking about? So let's go back also again to the agile methodology. I showed you guys a picture of this last time. Let's take a look at it. Sorry, not yeah, is it agile? No, not agile. Um, DevOps. I mean DevOps. So so you guys will see. No, sorry. I think Agile or Scrum is even better. Scrum. We're gonna talk about this as well during this training. So let's see where you guys sit. So I just gave you guys context of the use cases or an idea of where our use cases will be coming from. So let's see. You guys are. Is this a good example? Scrum Master. No, this is not a good one. Let's look at this. Let me see. What am I missing here? Stakeholders, Scrum Master. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, so like we have dev team here, but the testers are in the dev team. So I really want to get you guys to see where you guys are positioned properly. Let me see. Do we have the testers here? QA. Okay, so this is a better one. So like I said, I am going to play the role of the business. I might, let me get this picture in your faces. So shout out to visualparadigm.com for using their diagram to explain this. So I will be playing the position of the business. So remember I told you guys the term business. When you hear business, that is actually yeah, pretty much the people paying you, the high level. You probably don't even see them. You almost never see them. They are somewhere up. So if I take Facebook for example, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO and his team will be the business. You working for Facebook will never see them. It's hard to see them. They're living in they stay one tower doing their meetings. But the requirements for building out Facebook, for building out Instagram comes from them. They are the one that says this was what needs to be built, and then they send it down the pipeline before it gets to your team. So the business is actually a group of people who determine what needs to be built. They are somewhere in your if you have a big company, they're somewhere up, somewhere you probably never see. Sometimes you get close to them. I don't know. So the business is here. So I'll play the role of the business. I would also play the role of the product owner. As you can see in this square, the product owner is actually in the block of the Scrum team. So we're gonna simulate a Scrum team. We're gonna be all of us. We're gonna be in a team, um, and the business tells the product owner that okay, these are the things we want before January 2025. We want this feature, we want this feature, we want this feature, and then the product owner communicates that with the team. And you can see in the team we have a developer. So I'm also going to be playing the developer. So I am the business, I am the product owner, I am the dev. But in a typical team, these are three different people. But I'm going to play that, and then you guys are going to be the QA. QA means quality assurance tester or or software tester. This is where you guys are going to play your game by creating test cases and all of that. So I'm going to try to make this as realistic as possible as we keep going on, because what I do want to create or help you guys do is after you take this training and we go through these processes, you can actually go and look for a job and say, I have worked for a company called Research Link. You're going to put that in your CV, and that's super cool because then the companies are not going to be like, oh, you're new, you're fresh. Yeah, but you're going to be like, yo, I have working experience because I've worked with Research Link. So that's really what I want to create here. And then, of course, anywhere you go to work, you're gonna like you're gonna learn a lot more and have more hands on. But I'm gonna try my best to yeah, to make you guys feel like you're actually in a company working and knowing what you're supposed to do, your roles and stuff like that. So I just gave you guys more of an overview. Our use cases are going to be coming out from uh, um, these two softwares, Pickaxe and Enket. And as we go, we're going to unfold all of this. All right. So I think it's going to be super, super, super exciting for all of you. So what are we going to do in this section? So this is let's see. So first of all, very excited to have you here, and we're going to dive into the core aspects of manual testing, of course, which is a fundamental part of software testing. What exactly is manual testing? We'll touch that last week. Now, it's a process where testers check software by going through different test cases manually without the help of automated tools. So, yeah, it might sound kind of labor intensive, but as we have mentioned last week, it is incredibly valuable, right? Um, so, what are we going to learn in this chapter? Now, of course, manual testing gives you a hands-on understanding of how software operates. It also helps you feel how user-friendly a software actually is. You also get to, have an overall experience of how the end user is going to interact with it. So it also gives you the opportunity to put yourself in the shoes of the actual user and, getting a feel and hoping and trying to feel if everything works as expected. So in this chapter, we're going to try to get a solid grasp of manual testing. We're going to talk about key testing terms and concepts. So if you see, I'm trying to use these terms for you guys. That's why I'm like, listen, if you hear something or word I say and you're like, I don't really understand what this word means. Maybe I know what it means in other contexts, but in this context, I don't know. Please, you have to speak up because these are terms you probably hear in your team when you start working. And it's good when you are in a meeting with developers, with product owners, that you understand what they're saying because you're going to translate what they're saying into probably into tests cases, right? So we're going to learn key terms and concepts, foundational vocabularies and ideas of manual testing. We're going to create detailed test cases. We're going to learn how to design clear, effective test cases that cover every scenario. We're going to identify, uh, we're going to learn about identifying and documenting bugs, recognizing different types of bugs, and how to document them for developers. Because at the end of the day, developers will be the ones to fix these issues. We're also going to look into verification and validation. What is the difference? We're going to understand the practical processes and how they ensure that software meets requirements using verification and validation. The role of quality assurance is also going to be explored. We're going to look at the importance throughout a software development lifecycle. So each topic is a building block towards becoming a skilled software tester. So We're gonna get started now. The first section: key terms and concepts in manual software testing. Now, in this section, we'll dive into small um, or probably some essential terms and concepts that every manual tester should know. Now, these terms are the foundation of effective communication. And yeah, we need effective communication for you guys as testers. It helps you guys to write clear documentations and help you also know the processes in testing that needs to be carried out. Now, by the end of this session, you should, at least my aim is that you feel confident using the terms in your daily testing activities. Now, the first part we're going to start with is what is a test case. I know we looked into it last week, but let's break it down even more, right? So as you can see, I put out the clear definition there. A test case is a set of conditions or steps that the tester follows to check if a software application works as it should, right? So a test case is just basically this is how a set of instructions that shows how another tester, if you give your test case to another tester, that tester should be able to follow it and perform the test that needs to be done. Now there are different uh, parts of a test case or what test cases include, right? A test case has what you call an identifier. An identifier is a unique ID to track the test case. So I believe in our last uh, screen, let me see if I have that text again. I'm gonna show you guys anyway in a bit, but I will come to that because last week I showed you guys a typical test case. So it has an identifier. Then it also has a description, which is a brief explanation of what needs to be tested. It also has a test steps, which are specific step-by-step instructions for the tester. Also contains an expected result. So this is actually the anticipated outcome after following the steps. It also has a precondition. That actually means what needs to be set up before you start testing, and a post condition, which is the state the software should be in after the test is completed. We are going to see all of this in the following slide, how such an example looks like. So this is typically when you have a test case, this is what you would see. Now, let me look for an example real quick. Just give me a minute. I'm going to pull out one of the test cases that we used last week. Just give me a moment. Almost there. Software testing, test case template. Um, let's see. Let's get another one. Just found one, but that's not exactly what I wanted. Let's give me a minute. Testing, mastery, testing. All right. So let's take a look at this one. So this is how a typical test case looks like. So let's see if we can put it side by side and see if we can pinpoint it. So we say a test case should have an ID. So as you can see, we have an ID here. So this is test case ID TC. TC means test case. Like I told you guys last time, most companies name it what they want, but yeah, TC makes sense. Test case 001. It has a description, test description. Verify that users can register with their email and password. See? Precondition, there is no precondition. That means, yeah, nothing needs to be done. Like, for example, you don't need to, the user account doesn't need to exist already and stuff like that. So it's just, you are just going to go there and register. You don't need to prepare anything. They don't need to be data in the database or something. It's just, there is nothing that needs to be done before you start. So the precondition is none. Um, then you have the test steps. So you see we have steps here. Navigate to the registration page, enter a valid email address, enter a valid password, confirm the password, click the register button. You see, that's the steps. You have expected results. The user should receive a confirmation message that and their account should be created. So this is the expected result. Post condition is the new user should be able to log in with their credential. So you see, these are the typical uh, uh, sections that you find in a test case. So just to see if you guys get it. So if this test case was testing instead of registration, if it was testing login. So if the test case was verify that the user can log in with their email and password, what should the precondition be? Please raise up your hand if you know. So I just changed the test now, just the test description anyway. What should the precondition now be? All right, we're gonna try Bimito. You're mute, Binto.
Okay, so I think the user should already have an email and password set up before they can attempt a
Okay, so
login
what do you mean
to
by
verify if
should
it
already have
works.
it set up? What does that mean?
Okay, so I believe that there would be a sign up process first before you can now, the subsequent process is to log in. So for you to be able to log in with your email and
Exactly.
password, you need to have signed up first
Exactly. So the
with that
precondition is
email and password.
you need to already be a registered user. Thank you very much. So it shows you guys get it because I also saw a lot of you raised up your hand. That's awesome. So that is the precondition, and you will have preconditions like this in different parts of your software where you have to test. Like, okay, you have to have this in place before you can actually test it. So those are the things you actually put in your precondition. And if you think about it, it makes sense. So you see, testing is just like I said, you guys do a lot of testing every day. It's just you don't know it. You understand? If you go to your Facebook account, you don't. If you go to your Facebook account and you want to go to your account, you don't say, "Oh, I have to log in." You already know that there has been a precondition already because last year, last 2 years, last 10 years, you already registered. So that precondition is already met, and you just go and you log in, and you click here, you click there. So testing is really something you do every day, and you just don't know it. And the companies are really excited because you guys help them test their software. But this time, you guys are gonna be like putting more thought into it, and even going further than what you already know. So great. So these are the typical sections you will find in most use test cases. All right, let's go back to our slide. So here as we can see, we just this is just a screen of what an example of a typical test case you look like, which we just looked into. So let's see, what time is it? It's about uh, okay. So let's do this lab. Let's do this really quick lab. So this is the use case. Enquete.com. I told you guys a little bit about it, so let's read it. It says. Get to know your online survey generating platforms, design and help you. That's actually Enquete.com. It helps you get to know. What am I saying? Okay, no, sorry. I'll read it how it is. It says, get to know our online survey generating platform designed to help you create and distribute surveys effortlessly. Our platform offers a free package for everyone, making it accessible for both business and individuals. Key features of our online survey platform includes customizable survey templates, advanced survey logics, and real-time analytics. With these features, you can tailor your survey to your specific needs while gaining real-time insight into your audience response. Now, online surveys are effective because they provide a convenient and cost-effective way to gather feedback from a large audience. with the ability to reach respondents from around the world. Online surveys offer valuable insights that can help you make informed decisions and improve your business. Additionally, our platform makes it easy to share your survey via email, social media, or website integration, making it possible to collect the response you need. So I just gave you guys context specific to this use case. So now the first task is write test cases for the registration page. So that's what you guys need to do now. So the task at hand. So just think about it. You guys are in my team. The business have spoken to me. I've given you guys a context. I'm your product owner, and I'm saying, so all of you are testers now. So you have to wear your tester hat now. And I just said, write test cases for the registration page. So we're not going to break it down as extensive. So I just want you to just name the tests that needs to be done. What do you want to test? So what am I saying? We're not going to break it down like this. All I just need is the description of what you want to test. So I want different test cases for that. Just the description alone. So I'm going to give everyone say 5 minutes to do this. Please just try it out. Don't, there's no bad answer, there's no wrong answer. Any answer that's not straight, we're gonna remember that's the learning process. So do it. If you have any questions for me, you can ask me right now before you start, or while you're doing that, you can always ask me questions. But so so remember, my what I'm asking you guys is write test cases for the registration page. That's just what I said. All right, I see Chinonso is raising up her hand. Let's see. Go ahead. Um, just
Where are
write
you
it
writing it?
on your computer on your desk. I'm going to ask you guys verbally when you're done in 5 minutes. Yeah, just write it on something. So again, I'm the product owner. I just came into the team and I said, guys, write test cases for the registration page. You guys know what it's about, right? And get write cases. All right. See you guys later. So 5 minutes from now, I'll be back. So that's at 10. Yeah, say 10, 16, 10, 17. And if you want to ask questions, I'm still online. All right, go ahead. Yep.
Question, sir. For the registration page, like, are they using email or phone number to
Email and
register,
password.
or just username
Email
and
and
password?
password.
I want to
All
decide.
right. So remember, not the full stuff. I just
All right.
need the description of what you want to test or the specific, let me put it like this, the specific area you want to test. All right. All right. So I would say let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot and see what you guys have. So we start with let's see, who do I have on my screen? Sumbo, what do you have? Give us your test case. I can hear you. I think you're muted. If you're muted. Oh, Okay, so guys, I'll say let's give it a shot. Let's see what you guys have. So Sumba, you're gonna start out. So can you tell us what test case descriptions you have put together? And you're on mute. Okay, Sumi, can you hear me? Uh, okay,
Yes. Okay. On the registration page, I try to sign in. If a already existing user tries to sign in,
okay. So
it
your
should give an
description
error
will be
message that says
um,
email is already in
test
use.
if the what was this about? Test if the registration page returns an error when a wrong email is
The
given. See, that should be your description. See there? That's what it'll be. Okay. Do you have any other one?
okay.
Oh, it's okay. If you have, you can speak. If you don't have, no problem. All right.
Um,
So we'll move to Chinonso. Do you have
no.
something? Just read it out.
Um, Test to see if they use the correct if they put a password that has if check if the password
Good, good,
contains
good.
the
Do you have any
required
other one?
maximum input length. Um, Also to check
Okay. So
if they
test
use
if a
a
valid
valid
email
email
address is
address, if
accepted.
it's
Great,
gonna
great. So let's move
work.
to Justin. You're mute. Okay.
Yeah. So mine will be test if a user gets a
Good, 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 good.
confirmation
Do you have
email
another one?
when he tries to log in on the homepage.
All right, great, great. Bimto.
No, not really.
I think mine is the same with Chinonso's. To test if the
Great,
email
great, great.
is
All right,
valid
Constance.
and the password is set up correctly.
I wrote create an account on the registration
Good,
page
good. So
using
you're
correct
testing the
email to
successful
check if
registration. So you're
registration will be
assuming everything is
successful.
okay, and if everything is okay, email is okay, password is okay, it should actually register the user. Good. You have another one? All right,
Yeah.
Ifeanyi.
No, I don't.
So
To verify if a user can
great, great, great.
register with
So
a
good. So
valid
you see,
email,
just all
and
of you
the
as software
email must be
testers, if you listen to yourself, you had different software test cases, and if you put that together, you see that you will be able to test different things in the software. Some people were testing to see if an error message came back. Some were testing to see if the email. So if I put all of you in a team now, you see probably we'll come out with about 5 or six test cases. So good job. But you guys made one big mistake. Would you guys like to know what the big mistake all of you made? If I almost tried to get it, but he still made that mistake. Now, what is that mistake? Let's go to the next slide. So this was actually a trick lab I gave you guys. Now, this is the big mistake you guys made. You guys did not ask the fundamental question. You guys just assumed that I wanted uh, 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 email verification. You guys, some of you assumed that the password needs to be 6 characters, and that is what you don't want to do as a tester. So this is a big gotcha. So, and this is very important. So remember, I told you guys I was wearing the hat. I'm gonna get that diagram again. So this is beautiful because I hope this is gonna make you guys never forget this. So if you're in a software team, I'm gonna get this diagram again that I'm borrowing. So please, guys, don't get offended. I'm borrowing your diagram. I already gave you guys a shout out. So, so this is how typically stuff works. Business comes with requirements and says, guys, send it to team A. Team A, they actually mostly business mostly talk to only the product owner. As you can see, the product owner has contact with the business and also the end users most of the time. They talk to the product owner. Product owner says, okay, there needs to be a registration page. Fine, thank you. Um, the product owner asks them also for the requirements, what needs to be done. Sometimes they're like, oh, we don't really know, but just make sure that it's safe, right? The product owner talks to the business analyst. You understand? Most times, yeah, the business analyst says, "Yo, listen, we have to create a software page. What requirements do you think needs to be in there?" The business analyst mostly is the one that says, "Okay, yeah, the password needs to be like 6 character long. We cannot take 123 as a password." In any case, business analyst defines business requirements. Sometimes also, if he's not sure, they ask the question back to the product owner. Product owner ask question to the business, like, "Oh, do you want us to allow thumbprint registration?" Business says, "No, we don't have money for that." It comes back saying, "No, no thumbprint registration. They have to literally sign in with their email and password." So the business analyst writes all the requirements and communicates that with the product owner. So those two people sit down together and plan and write out the business requirements. Then they call a meeting. That meeting is called a refinement meeting. Now, in that meeting, the people that attend that meeting are the dev, the QA testers. So you have two devs in this team, right? Or three, one, two, three developers. So one of them is me. So I'm gonna be this fine guy. So you guys are the QA. Now the QA comes in and say, and the QA and the business analyst and the product owner says exactly what I just said. Write a use case. Oh, sorry, we're gonna do design a registration page, and oh, testers, write use cases for this registration. Now, you guys have to make sure you ask this question: what are the requirements? Because it is based on this requirement that you then write your use cases. Now, of course, in real world, what normally happens is when the business analyst comes into the meeting, they already have a document where they wrote most of the requirements. So two things that could happen: the the QA, which is you guys, probably would have looked through the document to find the requirements, or if the requirements are not hand ready, if they are just discussing, you want to ask this question in the meeting: what are the requirements? What do you actually want to what is it you want the software to be able to do? What do you want it not to be able to do? And sometimes, if it's not even clear, you ask a direct question. That's why I was saying if I was almost onto it, because if I asked a direct question like, oh, are they going to log in with their email, or can they log in with something else? You see, that is what software testers want to ask in their meetings, because the truth of it is, it's not all softwares that log in with email address. It's not all softwares that their passwords are uh, are just regular password. There are some softwares that the requirement would be the person must log in with 12 characters. There are some softwares that say, oh, you must have a combination of numbers, letters, capital letters, and all that. All those things are requirements, and you want to ask those questions and be like, okay, fine. You want me to design? We're going to be designing a registration. What is the requirements? Oh, the requirement is this, and if you even miss something, take for example, I think Chinonso mentioned combination of password. If that combination was not in the requirements, you as a tester want to ask it in the meeting and be like, okay, okay, fine. We have to verify password. I see that, but should we allow numbers? Should we allow what is the maximum length of the that sometimes that's when the analyst will be like, oh yeah, that's true. um they'll give you a direct answer, or they'll be like, oh, we don't know that, we have to go ask the business again. So sometimes even in these meetings, when you ask when the software tester asks the business analyst and the product owner the question, like, what's the character length of the password, they're like, oh, we didn't really know that. Okay, you know what, we're going to ask the business again to see if we can get that number. Sometimes they already have the answer and they'll tell you, oh, it's 12. So those are things. you have to gather to draw out those information because it's based on those information that is where your test cases will come out from. Because there's no point writing a test case for confirmation, for an email confirmation, when the software does not send email after registration and when that is not part of the requirements. So you'll probably be writing a test for a functionality that does not exist or a functionality that was not part of the requirements. So you just be wasting your time and energy. And of course, when you try to test that when the software is done, it will not do that. It will fail. And when you go back, you're like, this is failing. What the developers will tell you is that was not part of the requirement. So you're supposed to only test what was part of the requirement. So this is a very, very important question for testers as well. Now, another person that also asks this is, of course, developers. Developers always ask this question as well because with this question, developers know what they need to build. You understand? So definitely this will come in, but you as a tester, you want to make sure that you have this at the back of your mind, like, okay, you want us to build this, what are the requirements? We wanted to do this, we wanted to do this. If this happens, this should happen. If this happens, and sometimes with your own experience as a tester, with your own experience as someone that's been using different softwares, you can also say, are we to okay, fine. Should we do some kind of two-factor authentication? Is that part of the requirement? Two-factor authentication is it means registering, and then they will send you an email, a code to your phone, and from your code you punch it, and when you get the code, you punch it back. That's called two-factor authentication or two-factor registration. So where your computer is working with, they send messages to your phone, and you have to put the message back on your computer, and it goes so. And if you feel that is part of what you think this should be, you can ask the product owner, okay, are we going to test that? Is that part of it? They'll be like, oh no, that's we're not doing that. We're just doing normal registration. Or they could be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Or you know what? Let's ask the business if they want that. You get it? So very, very important. It's very important that you do not write use cases based on assumptions. Sorry, not use cases. Do not write test cases based on assumptions. You write test cases based on requirements. So if I come or anybody comes and give you this kind of vague task, write test cases for the registration page. You'll be like, fine, what are the requirements? That's just it. You just say, okay, what are the requirements? And that person will be like, oh, okay, it should do this, it should do this, it should do this, it should do this. And if you miss something, you say, okay, should he be able to do this? Should he be able to do this? Should he be able to do this? And based on that, you can now write test cases that are fit for this use case. So that was a great lab. I hope you guys don't forget that. That was also my intention. I wanted you guys to really remember that part. So requirements, always asking for requirements is very, very important. All right. So we're gonna move to this other part, talking about bugs and defects. Um, a bug or a defect is an error in the software that causes it to behave unexpectedly. Bugs can actually vary. There are different types of it. I'm sure the term bug hopefully is something that is more popular these days. So you might have heard it in a lot of places. Of course, the typical translation, a bug is just an insect. But in the dev world, a bug is just something is not doing what it's supposed to do, or it's a defect. And you see most times in software world, you see it being painted as a bug like this, and then you see probably codes in it next to it. So bug is just errors. There are different types of bugs. We have functional bugs. Functional bugs is when a feature doesn't work as intended. So take for example, all right, I think there's a question coming up. Um, okay. All right, let's take a break. There was a request to take a break. Let's take a 5 minutes break so you guys can catch your breath and I can catch my breath too. So we'll be back here at 10:36. All right, a quick break. See you guys later. Start the recording again. So we were talking about the different types of bugs. So we have different types of bugs. Of course, we have functional bugs. What are functional bugs? A functional bug is when a specific feature that is added to the software doesn't do what is intended. It doesn't give any error, but it's just not doing what is intended. And I'll give you a typical example. Um, so a typical example is, for example, the one we tested. We were testing a registration, right? So what if a user puts in his email, puts in his password, and yeah, and registered, and an account was actually created, but no email was sent, assuming that was part of the requirement. So if the requirement says when a registration is complete, there needs to be a welcome email. But yeah, you log in and everything worked out. You can log in. I mean, you registered and everything worked out, and you can log in, but there was no email. So that's a functional bug. There's a there's a function that's missing. You also have performance bugs. Performance bugs has to do with speed. A performance bug is everything works, but it takes super long, right? Or it's maybe the requirement is if you register, it shouldn't take more than 5 milliseconds or depending whatever. But when you registered, it took like 2 minutes. So that is a performance bug. You understand? So when you hear performance, link it to speed. A usability bug is a problem that makes the software hard to use. So for example, yeah, you go to the website, but yeah, the login button is very small, maybe very hard to click. Yeah, that's a usability bug because yeah, users find it hard or cannot see it, or when they're trying to click it, they have to be really steady. And of course, you have security bugs. So security bugs are vulnerabilities that can be exploited. So, for example, if you have a login form, but somehow someone that is not registered can still log in, that's a big problem. That means that's a security issue. So if something like that exists in your software or in the software you're testing, that is labeled a security bug because that means anybody can log in, and that's you don't want that. Then you also have compatibility bugs, and this is issues across different devices. So as you guys know, browsers, I'm giving a typical example. We have different types of browsers. We have Chrome. I hope you guys know what browsers are, right? Hold up, before I start assuming. Who does not know what a browser is? Please raise up your hand. Remember, you have to. There's no shame in not knowing stuff, because if you don't know, then you can be taught. So if you don't know what a browser is, please raise up your hand. Sumba, did you raise up your hand? Um, okay, so what is a browser? So a browser is typically a software that you can use
Yes, I did.
to visit websites and web pages. Again, it's a software that you can use to visit websites and web pages. Now, your Windows operating system, especially if you have one of the latest Windows like Windows 10 or Windows 11, they come with that software already inbuilt. And one of they come with their owner, and the one that is currently being given to you for free, the browser that is typically given to you for free by Windows is called Windows Edge. So I'm going to open that up so you see how it looks. Edge. So if I open it up, this is what it looks like. You see? This is Windows Edge. It comes with Windows 10 or Windows 11. If you click on your Start button and you just type Edge, you will get it there. So this is called Windows Edge. Uh, Now, you can also download your own browser, the one you like. If you don't like Windows Edge, someone like me, I don't play around with Edge that much. It's not my thing. So I downloaded Chrome. Chrome is also a browser, as you can see. I'm putting it on the screen. Chrome is also a browser, but it's designed by Google. Google owns it. So this one, Edge, is owned by Microsoft. Chrome is owned by Google. So I like to mess with Chrome. Chrome is my guy. If you still hate Chrome, you can also go for some people like a browser they call Firefox. I also happen to have that on my computer. See, these are all browsers, and they do the same thing. You can use it to browse the internet. So this is Firefox. It's also a browser. You can use all of them to browse a website. So I'm going to go to see all of them. You can navigate to a particular web page, and they pretty much do the same thing. Sorry, cat.com. So they pretty much do the same thing. If you even don't like Firefox, by the way, Firefox is owned by Mozilla company. If you don't even like Firefox, I think I have one more called what's this one called? I have this one. It's called, just give me a minute. I have Brave. See? This is a browser called Brave. See this? Oh, sorry guys. Sure you guys might be toying. All right. Oh. Okay, so this is Brave browser, right? All of this are all browsers. They are softwares as you see them. The only one that comes with Windows is the Windows Edge. The rest, you can download it depending on your preference. And Windows Explorer is not a browser. Windows Explorer, this
What
is
about
actually,
Windows Explorer?
let me see. Um,
Okay.
Windows Explorer, the name Windows Explorer is actually an old name. Yeah. I think you mean Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer is owned by what do you call it? It's
think it's
owned by,
Internet Explorer.
just give me a minute. It's owned by Microsoft, of course, but they have stopped developing it because it's full of bugs, too much bugs. But when you talk about Windows Explorer, Windows Explorer is an old name, but this was what was referred to as in Windows Explorer before. The fact you can open forms and it looks like this was what was referred to as Windows Explorer in the past. But nobody uses that term anymore per se. Um, then for you, Chino, that uses a MacBook, your browser will be Safari, I think. Uh, yeah, but Chrome is owned by Google, but okay, it's possible. Probably
Chrome.
they pre-installed it,
Chrome.
but if you also check, you would see Safari. So we can look that
But
up.
Chrome
Safari
came with
is
the laptop,
actually
I think.
the one that is owned by Apple. So if you say Safari browser, and if you look on your computer, you would find Safari. You see, it usually has this icon. If you go on your MacBook, you see Safari. Let me see. Let's see if I can. Yeah, this is your Safari. So if you look on your computer and you see this icon, this is Safari browser. Then if you have Chrome, Chrome will be here. But Chrome is not owned by Apple. Chrome is owned by Google. The one that came with Apple is Safari. That's the one they own. Now let's get back to what we were talking about. So if I say of or if we say we have a compatibility bug, that means that, or it could, let's go back to this guy. So let me pull up two browsers, for example. So if we say we have a compatibility problem, right? And what was the compatibility problem you found out as a tester? You're like, when I go on Edge, I see the login button, but when I go on Brave, I don't see a login button. So what that means is the website is not compatible with different browsers. So let me even be very let me make that look more interesting. So if I did something like let me just do this and I delete. So as you can see, I just messed up my code and check this out. There's no login button. So I came into the site, I'm testing. When I come, I see a login and registration, but on this Brave, I don't see my login button. Then you as a tester, you're going to report a bug because it works very well on Edge, but it doesn't work very well on Brave. So this is also something you have to ask as part of the requirements. Like, okay, if it is a web page, one of the question is, okay, what browsers are we interested in? What is the requirement per browser? And they could be like, oh no, it needs to only work on Chrome. Or they could be like, oh, it needs to work on all browsers. So if it needs to work on all browsers, of course you have to be, when someone says all browsers, be careful with that because there are a lot of browsers, a lot. So I would say don't take that answer. If they say a lot of browser, you'd be like, okay, can you be specific? Can you be specific? Because I think there's even over 100 browsers. A tester cannot go and be testing on 100 browsers or more. I think there are probably a lot of browsers actually. So if someone says that, be like, no, 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 specific. What are the browsers? And then the person will be like, okay, at least it should work on Chrome, Edge, Safari, and Brave. Then you know what you have to test. Then you're gonna write a test case for testing compatibility on this different browsers, right? So this is a typical example of that, and it also has to come from the requirement. You always want to ask, what browsers should we be interested in? Don't let anybody tell you all browsers. That is not an answer because all browsers is there's, there's so much of them, so many of them. So that explains compatibility. Sumbor, do you understand browsers? Does that make sense to you? All right. If there are any questions so far, Chinos has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yeah, the bug is just
Um,
basically
yeah, I
the two
understood
browsers
how you
are not
explained the
working the same.
compatibility.
That's the
But
issue. The bug is
what's the bug
when I
in
go on
it?
Chrome, it works well. I can see my login button, but when I go on Brave browser, I don't see a login button. So this is what you send back to the developers. So they should fix it. Something is wrong here. Look, I come here, no login. I come here, there's login. So this is the compatibility issue. So your bug will be I'm missing a login button in my Brave, but it's working perfectly on Edge browser. Got it? All right. Great. So we're gonna go to the next. Justin has a question. Go ahead. Let's go back again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, just generally speaking, in your experience, which of these bugs like is predominant with testers? Because I'm sure that I'm sure that it's not all the time that most of them happen very
Yeah,
often.
so that's a great
So,
question, by
like
the
in your
way.
experience, which of them is
So
really
I
like
have good news.
um,
In if whatever
happens
website,
more often
if
than
whatever software
others?
you're testing runs on the browser, the good news about it is, first of all, what we normally had before was a lot of companies were designing their browsers however they feel like. So there was no consensus between browser companies, right? Microsoft was busy designing Internet Explorer however they like. They had their own rules, they had their own thing, they had their own that. And Chrome was doing the same thing but doing it their own way. And the problem is when you now launch your website back, say, like 5 or 10 years ago, when you launch your website, it looks different on the browsers because these people are not communicating. They're not saying, okay, this is the standards we're going to use, right? And that created a lot of problems for both testers and developers. And then we had a lot of these kind of issues that I just showed as an example. Now, the good news is most of the browsers that are popular now have started working together. They have started using what we call a web standard. So if we go on the internet now and I Google web standard, so we have a dedicated company that actually does, let's see, web standard. So you have, yeah, this company called W3C. So this W3C, they are the ones that now decide the standards that all these other companies, Microsoft, Firefox, Mozilla, Safari, Apple, they all use these standards or standards that have been defined by this company for designing a browser, for reading HTML codes to design their browsers. And the benefit of that is in modern times, most of the website always looks the same because they are using the same development standards. So that used to be a very big issue before. In recent times, it's very rare that you see websites don't look the same, and that was one of the biggest reasons why Microsoft threw away. I use the word threw away because we all hated it. They threw away Internet Explorer, so which was what I think Chinoso was referring to, like, oh, and they threw that in the trash. We hated it. It was when I mean we hated it, developers hated it. Um, and they brought in Microsoft Edge. And Microsoft Edge respects and makes use of the standards, and that means less headaches for developers because back then developers have to design separate code for Internet Explorer, separate code for Chrome, separate code for my Mozilla Firefox, and it was hell for us. But now, since everyone is using the standards, the problem is getting less and less. So in modern times, yeah, compatibility issue on the browser is very minimum. I haven't really come across a lot in the past, say, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, Chinoso. The question I was answering. So Chinoso was asking me what are
Justin, please,
the
can you repeat your question
the
again?
type of compatibility issues that are common that I have experienced
Yeah.
that happen on, yeah, on the browsers and stuff. Right, Chinoso? That was what you're asking, right? Or you mean or you mean from all of this, or just come?
Yeah, yeah. I was
Oh,
asking
sorry,
which
I was
of the
totally
bugs
answering something
happen
else.
more often.
Good call,
Yeah,
Chinonso.
that's
I
I
misunderstood the
also
question. Um, uh,
yeah. From all
okay,
of
so
these,
you
which
as a
ones
tester
are more?
will be mostly busy with functional testing. Performance tests is not. It's yeah. It's it becomes a big deal once in a while, but I would say 80% of the time you're busy with functional tests. Usability tests, maybe very little. I would say between 2 to 5%. And when I mean very little, it's hardly the case that that always breaks. The one that breaks most of the time is functional test. Security bugs. Security bugs are also not something uh, testers typically um, test. In most companies they look for dedicated security analysts for that. They actually call them pen testers. You can also grow to be a security tester. It's like another layer, testing. Now we're doing manual testing. Probably the next layer would be automated testing, and you could also put security testing on top of your growth and be like, okay, now I'm a dedicated pen tester. Pen tester means penetration tester. So if you hear, you're gonna hear that word a lot: pen tester, pen tester, pen tester. It means penetration tester. Penetration tester means you want to penetrate into the software and hack it. So you as a tester, your goal will be how can I break the security? How can I hack into it? And whenever you find a door or gateway to hack into the system, you write that as a bug, like okay, I found a security bug because I could log in without my email or whatever. And compatibility bug is the minimum. So most of the time you're busy with functional bugs. So yeah, that's just almost cases. All right, thanks for the heads up, Chinoso. Does that answer your question, by the way, Justin? And of course, if I don't answer your question, I'll answer something else. Please speak up. Chinoso, does it help? No, good job. All right, great.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I didn't
So
interrupt you with the
verification
others because it was also
versus
explaining more of
validation.
the
Also very,
compatibility. So
very
I just
interesting
felt we also
terms.
needed
So
it.
what
Yeah.
is verification? What is verification and what is validation? So verification is also probably a word. It's part of an English word. Just hearing it, it probably gives you a sense of what it is. It's but in the context of software testing, when you're performing a verification test, you are trying to ensure that the software is built correctly according to the designed specs or according to the requirements. And this involves reviewing documents, making sure development aligns with the plans and the requirements. You understand? So you basically take your requirements or the documents that contains the requirements and you start testing. Okay, This is what they wanted us to do. Okay, does it work? Okay, that works. Just like that, you test it. Then validation ensures that the finished product meets the user's needs and behaves as expected. You understand? So you want to create a registration form. You register a user, fine. The user gets registered. You get an email. Oh, thank you, welcome. Okay, and yeah, everything works. But then you go to the login page, you can't log in. So it's probably not doing what it's supposed to do. It's working. The stuff that was built works, but it's not giving you the result. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. So that's more of a validation test that failed. So yeah, verification is about building the software correctly, while validation is about building the right software for the users. All right. So two terms that you as a software tester will use or hear a lot. Now let's go to the next slide. QA. QA. So also a term you want to be familiar with. So someone could ask you, hey, are you a QA tester? The answer is yes. It's another term for saying I'm a software tester. So software tester, let me put it like this. Let me put it like this. Software, sometimes sometimes the tech world we're just cheesy, I think. So I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example of how cheesy we can be as in the tech world. So a lot of time if someone asks you or ask me or ask a developer, are you a programmer? We don't like that word. Programmer feels like you're not really that good. You're not really you're a starter, you're a beginner. You understand? That's how you feel. Like, are you a programmer? You're like, programmer. But what we want to hear is, are you a software engineer? Ah, then you feel like heaven. Then you're floating in the sky. Then you're like, yes, I have arrived. But basically, they're the same thing. That's the truth of it. We just cheesy sometimes, and and that happens as well in the tester world. So, are you a software tester? Yeah, yeah, I'm a tester. Yeah. But if someone said, are you a QA tester? You feel like, I've arrived. I'm floating in the sky. That's it. I've made it. But basically, it's the same thing. But of course, when you say QA, you're talking about quality assurance. You see, there's kind of like some thickness to it. You understand? So, yeah, if someone asks you, you're a QA tester, they're basically asking, are you a software tester? That's just it. And yeah, QA testing, of course, you get to look at a much more broader sense. So, we're going to look into the two of them, basically. So QA involves activities that ensures quality and ensuring that standards are met, while testing focuses on execution and checking of issues in the product. But in typical, if you're following a test case, you are performing actually quality assurance tests. You understand? But it's still important for you to know the two terms. You understand? So QA means quality assurance. Testing means that you're focusing on executions. But yeah, basically, if someone asks you, "Are you a QA tester?" The answer is yes, you are, because you carry out, uh, yeah, you carry out quality assurance tests. I mean, if you're testing a login page to see if it fails, you're actually performing a quality assurance test. But you should know the difference in the terms anyway. Now let's move to the next slide. We want to see the key types of testing. So these are the key types of testing that we have. We've I'm sure you've heard of some of them last week. Regression testing. Hopefully that has stuck with you guys. So regression testing is about checking that the new code that changes haven't broken existing functionality. If you guys remember, we looked into that yesterday. For example, after fixing a bug in a checkout process, you test to make sure that the entire process still works. So if something was changed in the basket, maybe you have a what you call it, an e-commerce website where people have to put stuff in the basket, and something was adjusted in the code of the basket, you want to carry out a regression test to make sure that okay, users can still browse products, users can still add products to the basket, users can still pay for the product, and everything gets done as it should happen, even though it was just a minor area that was changed. You want to perform a regression test. Now, another type of test that is common is called a smoke test. So these terms you will hear a lot. Perform a smoke test. A smoke test is a quick check to ensure that the software's critical function works before more detailed testing. So it's like verifying that the basic work, sorry, that the basics work before diving deeper. So let me just bring that to your faces once more to give you guys a hands-on example of what a smoke test would be. So if I went to enquete.com and what could I have changed? Say, say I updated the contact page. So say I added this box here, and I call you as a tester. I said yes, I've deployed my change to production. Please, can you perform a smoke test? So what you as a software developer will do is, okay, first of all, your smoke test is you're gonna go to this URL, you're gonna just click around, just be like, okay, because you know what should work is the contact. So okay, let me just perform it, smoke test to see. Just me clicking around and seeing that everything is working. Okay, all right, this one works. All right, this works. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, the contact form. Okay, this. Of course, you're gonna perform the more thorough test on this one because this was what was changed. But you're just clicking around. Okay, I can change. Okay, okay, everything. All right, all right, all right, all right. Smoke test complete. Did you see that? That's a smoke test. It's just quick brush through to just make sure that some key things are working. Just clicking around, everything seems to work. Yeah, okay. All right, smoke test is done. So that's a smoke test. A quick check to ensure that the software's critical function works before uh, the more detailed testing, which is in that use case, the more detailed function was the change of that contact form, right? So that's a smoke test. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to visualize it. So a smoke is like, foggy. So you're not really clear. You're not seeing clear. You're not going to the deep testing. You're just doing that foggy test. You get it? So that's how I like to visualize. Maybe that could help you guys too. Then you also have sanity tested. Uh, and this is a focused test to check that a specific bug fix works. So unlike smoke testing, which covers critical features broadly, a sanity test targets a specific area. So if it is that contact form that was built, you want to like check for, or if it was a bug that wasn't working, you go directly and you check if that stuff has been fixed, if it's actually working the way it's intended according to the requirements. Then you have exploratory testing, and this is just freely exploring the software to find issues without any predefined steps. And this allows testers to think creatively and discover unexpected issues. So a typical example of that would be, let's go. So I'm like, okay, I'll say, Bimitor, can you perform a sanity check on encarta.com? Okay. So now there's no test script, right? With sanity tests, there's typically no test script or test case. You're just like, okay, I want to just click around. Let me see. What if I did this? What if I did this? Oh, okay, okay. Let's see. What else? What if I click this? Is that working? What if I remove this? Let me see. What happens? Okay, all right. You see, I'm just clicking around. I'm thinking, I'm freestyling for myself to see what can I break, what could break. You do this. Okay, what if I just click here? Okay. What if I do this? So you're just busy freestyling. And sometimes while you're doing this exploratory testing, you will find an issue. And when you find an issue, then you now create a test case and you can now describe how you created that issue for the developers to be able to fix. So that is more of exploratory testing. Then you have usability testing. Now, if usability testing is evaluating how user-friendly and efficient the software is. For example, observing users navigating a website to see if they can easily make a purchase. So usability testing, yeah, mostly it's done typically is done by getting someone outside that is not even part of your team. You go and get an actual user. So what could be an example of that? So if you were performing a usability test for say for Instagram, what you typically do is you just go and find somebody that just go random, not someone that works in the company. Just go pick up some a typical user. Just go maybe just pick up Chinonso because Chinonso uses Instagram a lot. Pick up Chinonso. I say, oh Chinonso, please, would you be interested in performing a usability test for our company? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes they pay even these people, and then you sit the person down in a room and you say, please try to log in. And while the person is trying to log in, you're watching the person to see if the person can find it easily. Can the person can the person intuitively know where to go? If the person is struggling, like, okay, I don't know, where's the login button? Then you write that down. You're like, okay, from your test, you see that wherever you guys place the login is not good because it took our user like 3 minutes to find the login button. Then you say, okay, can you post the picture? And she's busy looking for, oh, where's the, where do I post? Maybe does this, does that. You as a usability tester, you write that down. You're like, okay, this person found it so difficult to post a picture, so we have to change that. So that's typically how usability testing works. So you normally get someone or a real user, you put them in an environment, you give them tools, and you just tell them do this, and you observe. So these are the different types of testing that occurs, or what I say, I'll be more like that are popular and that you probably hear a lot about their names. So we have come to the end of this session. So let's do some review. So in this session, we covered the fundamental of testing. Sorry, the fundamental terms of testing. Also, we talked about the concept of manual testing and while that is essential, we also looked at test cases. We also looked at bugs. We also looked at what the difference is between verification and validation. What is QA testing, quality assurance testing? What are various types of testing, which is what we have on the screen. And it is quite important to understand these terms because it will help you in every step of your testing process. Now, in the next session that we will be looking at next week, we'll dive into software development lifecycle. So let me give you guys a preamble of that, which will be, it's called, you'll probably see it mostly as SDLC, software development lifecycle. To even go further, you see this is how it looks. And basically, this is very, very interesting and important for you guys to be here for this class. This is very, very interesting because this is typically how most software development companies work. And it's very good to know where you fit in. So you see here on number 5, that is where you guys will be testing and integration. But it's typically good to know what kind of framework, how does the software development work? How does it come about that teams work on software? Because you will be part of a team, and you also get to see how testing fits into each of the stages that we see here. So very interesting next class. Try to be there if you can. And yeah, so I'd like to stop here. I don't know if you guys have any questions. Okay, so I will be giving you guys an assignment, and it will be the same lab that we did before. So I'm going to ask, I'm going to give you guys this use case again. And this time I'm going to ask again. Sumi, can you hear me? All right. Sumbo, I'd like you to write a test case for the registration page. I'd like you to write a test case for the registration page.
I can.
Ah, that is it. She got it. She got it. She got it. She
So,
got it. So that's definitely what I was. That's what I was
Sorry?
trying to do. Don't mind me. I'm cheesy sometimes. But
Okay.
that's what exactly I
It's a
want to test. And
requirement.
so when I send this use case, I'm also going to attach requirements for it. So what I would like you guys to
That's
do is,
awesome.
yeah, based on the requirements I'm going to attach to it, you guys just write uh, test cases for it. And of course, remember what I'd like you to guys do is write it out using this different parts of a test case. Let me just print screen this. Of course, I'm going to share this video on the I'm gonna share it on YouTube for you guys to have access to it, but let me also share it on the chat. Give me a minute. What's up? So I'm gonna post it as well in the group for you guys to look and copy and create your test cases. So keep it simple. The ID just say test TC, which is test case. Give it numbers. Just make it an ascending number, 001, 002. Um, Look at the requirements. Should you look at the requirements and you feel like, okay, I want to ask exploratory questions, you're not clear about the requirements, you want to ask, that is definitely something you want to do in a team. If a requirement is not clear, don't be like, oh, maybe it's me that don't understand it, maybe others understand it. Don't do that. When you're in the meeting, you want, if a requirement is not clear, ask your questions. Say, okay, does it mean that we can take in 15 characters for the password? Ask questions. Very, very important. Because if you don't ask your questions, you cannot write good test cases. So it needs to be clear to you. And if you even feel like the analyst is missing some things, you say, okay, you can ask the question. Okay, are we, like I said, okay, are we to accept two-factor authentication? Is it part of this development? And then that would also make you help the analyst to do better work, help the developers to get clearer understanding of the requirements, and help you as the tester to know what to write test cases for. So that's what I'll be sending it. I think it's going to be exciting. And as we keep going on this journey, you guys are going to gradually learn more and more about what goes on in a dev team. So you guys are eventually going to be part of a dev team, which is a development team, and yeah, we're gonna learn so much. So I'm just trying to get you guys really excited for what's to come, and I think you guys did amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed the lecture, and I'm also very very happy. I want to commend all of you for sending in your assignments. I think it's really good. I would say keep doing that, and I will do my best to really bring you guys into a real. I want to make it as real as possible for you guys, so you guys will feel like yes, I have worked with a company where I had to perform tests and all of that. So, any other questions? No.
Yeah, maybe I would like to maybe get a clarification of what you mean by the requirements for the
Okay,
assignment
that's
now.
a very good question.
So
So,
you
what I
mean we
mean
shouldn't
is
limit
you should
ourselves to the
follow the
requirements you're
requirements
going to be
exactly how I've
bringing?
given it,
If,
but
for
feel
instance,
free
there
to
is need
say,
for us to ask
do you
additional
mean this?
questions in
Have you thought
addition
about
to the
this?
requirements
What
you're
about
going
this?
to
Or
present.
what about that? And if that gives me an idea, I can then adjust the requirement again. I could be like, oh, okay, it's true. Uh, for example, if I say, if my one of my requirements is verify that the password contains at least 6 characters. Maybe that's what I put it in as the requirement, right? And then your follow-up question could be, are we to accept all types of characters, or are we to only accept numbers and alphabets? Then maybe I'll be like, oh yeah, it's true. Then I'll add another requirement to. I'll be like, you can only accept numbers, characters, and what do you call it, glyphs or whatever. So you see, because you gave me a feedback or a follow-up question, it made me as an analyst think and be like, oh yeah, that's true. Okay, an additional requirement is accept characters, numbers, and symbols, for example. So that's exactly what you do in your dev team. Sometimes the requirements are clearer. Sometimes you be like, oh, what about this? What about that? And it helps the analyst to be more specific, Because sometimes analysts also just feel like, oh, they know they understand what I mean. Or sometimes an analyst don't even think about deeper things. And you as a tester, because of your questions, they can get more specific, and you then it makes you know exactly what to write test cases about. So, but don't go freestyle. You understand? Because if you go freestyle and it's not part of the requirements, then you're writing a test case for something that doesn't exist. So should you have an idea, first you want to always bring it back to the analyst and say, okay, what about this? Should we test? Are we going to test for this? Is this a requirement? And the analyst could be like, no, no, don't bother about that. We're gonna keep it as. Or the analyst could be like, oh yeah, that's true. I'm gonna add an extra requirement for that. Okay, so remember, in our last study, in our last week, we said one of the skills of a software tester is critical thinking. So your critical thinking, or you thinking about what about this or what about that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Helps the analyst do their job better. Helps the product owner deliver what the business wants. Helps the developers to um, yeah, to write better software. So yeah, if you ask good questions because you think critically, or if you feel like the requirements are not really clear and you ask questions and you try to bring out the best information out, that is you using critical thinking skills. Does that answer your question? All right, if I go ahead. No, that's not. That's just an example of what a test case looks like. So when you guys will be
Yeah, I have
writing
a
your own
question, sir.
test case, make sure it
So
has
I
an
just opened
ID.
what you posted in the group. Is
Sorry?
that the answer or the question?
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to send an assignment that looks like this. Uh,
Okay.
I'm gonna send you guys a
So
lab
we're
session
writing
assignment
this
that looks
based on
like
what?
this, but this time I'm going to add the
On the
requirements,
registration page.
what I expect. Now you see this one was not complete. This was just to test you guys. This one doesn't have a requirement, but I'm going to send a new one that has a requirement. Then you guys will now write test cases. Where is the example? You guys will now write test cases. Your test cases must have an ID, must have
Okay.
a description, must have the steps, must have the expected results, must have the precondition and the postcondition. So this is just an example to make you guys see what each steps look like and what you guys have to do. All right. So any other question? All right. I wish you guys a great weekend. Do not forget if you still have questions, post it on the chat. And you guys
Uh,
have a lovely weekend,
okay.
and I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. All right.